you prepare really hard for the USACO season, and then you don't do as well as you wanted to in the first contest of the season because the contest was much harder than you expected, that can be frustrating. So what do you actually do about the USACO contest getting harder each year? My name's Ria. I'm a 3-time USACO finalist, which is top 26 in the USA, and I've helped students advance to silver, gold, platinum, USACO camp, and even make the EGOY team. And I'm here to tell you, what do you do about the USACO contest getting harder each and every year? So, first of all, why do they get harder every year? What is actually the thing that's going on here? The thing is, because USACO is a competition, a certain percentage of people advance every contest. Now, it's not a set number or anything, but generally speaking, the top performers at every competition advance in a given contest. So let's say that this is like your total sort of skill level. The skill level moves upwards. And last year, to advance, you needed, let's say, this amount of skill level. And so this year, when you prepare for the contest, your skill level is right here. And so you're like, okay, well, I can do well on any of the contests last year and do great. However, when the contest comes around, you find out that this year's skill level, you need a lot more skills to advance. So what's actually going on? Well, what's actually going on is a lot of people are doing the exact same thing that you're doing. So a lot of people know that in the previous year, this was the skill level needed to advance. So a bunch of people are preparing at the same skill level you have. And because they're taking the top certain number of people to advance, well, they can't keep the same cutoff, or too many people would make the cutoff. Remember, USACO is a competition. It's not like a test at school where every year the amount of skills you need to get a 90% or get an A on the exam is the same. It's a competition, and they're trying to get the top certain number of people to advance. And because it's a competition, that's why it's so prestigious for college applications. If USACO would just let more and more people advance every season, colleges wouldn't be as prestigious for college applications. And remember, USACO's job is to pick the top few students for USACO camp and to pick the top 4 for the IOI team and the EGOY teams. Taking more and more students to every division doesn't help them achieve either of those goals, and it'll diminish your achievements in USACO. Let's say you made silver, and the next year, a bunch more people made silver than the previous year. Now your silver accomplishment is diminished. So USACO can't really do that. And so, for that reason, as you can see here, there's a bunch more people that are going to be in this level. So you're going to have a bunch of people in this range. And so the cutoff is going to be higher. And that's basically why the competition gets harder every year. You'll probably notice that this is not just USACO. If you look at AMC, which is the math competition version, it'll be a similar thing, where every year it gets harder. And it's for the same reason, right? Amy is trying to pick the top 1.5% of AMC competitors. And so it's going to be the same reason there. The number 1.5%, don't quote me on that, but approximately 1.5%. I think they released the exact number online somewhere. So what do we actually do about this? Well, there's 2 parts to what can make a competition harder, right? The 2 parts are going to be more algorithms and data structures or harder problem-solving skills. Now, there's no set curriculum of what algorithms and data structures are in different divisions. You can look up online. I have some resources as well to get an idea of roughly what this is. That's kind of outside the scope of this video. We have other videos on it in different parts of the channel. But sometimes you could have an algorithm that's moved down a division. And this happens occasionally. What's more common, that you're more likely going to see, is that the problem-solving skills get harder. And the problem-solving skills are the different difficulties of the observations that you need to make and things like that. And so what you can do to prepare for the competition is start working on problems that are going to be harder in terms of problem-solving skills. If you can pass last year's competition, that's not going to be good enough for this year. What you need to be able to do is you need to be able to solve problems that are going to be harder than it. Now, you probably don't need to learn more algorithms. In the rare occasion, one algorithm will move down here and there, but you definitely do need to work on harder problems and improve your problem-solving skills. Now, what do you do if an algorithm does move down a division? Well, typically when that happens, you'll know by the next contest, essentially, right? And so if you don't advance in the first contest of the season, you'll advance in the second one easy because you know that new algorithm's there. However, if you're lacking the problem-solving skills, now you're not going to advance in the second contest of the season either, because those are going to take a lot longer to learn. They're going to be a lot more difficult. An algorithm you can learn quite quickly. Problem-solving skills are going to be where the bulk of the difficulty of the contest comes from. Okay, there's one more reason why you might find that the competitions are harder than you expected. And this actually has nothing to do with the difficulty of the contest. This has to do with your preparation. So, let's say you prepared for last year's contest. Now, there's a variety of different algorithms that could show up in the contests. Let's say last year, 75% of them showed up and 25% of them didn't. And this year, what of that remaining 25%, which is still well within the realm of that division? So, for example, let's say that, in Platinum, no string algorithm showed up one year, but the next year you got like 2 string problems. It's definitely possible. It's well within the realm of the division. So if you prepare for what's there and then there's some stuff that you didn't prepare for that are well within the realm of the division, you're going to miss those problems. And this happens if you prepare specifically for the contest. If you're like, okay, the 12 problems that showed up last year, I'm going to only prepare for those 12. You can't do that. You got to expand out more. You got to look back multiple years and you got to say, okay, 4 years ago, these problems showed up in strings. Now, obviously, I can solve them because the 4-year problems are easier than the ones that are showing up now. So I got to take these problems. I got to find harder problems of those same algorithms, and I got to work on them. So you got to make sure you're covering the breadth of algorithms that could show up, and you're working on those with harder potential problems than what's showing up in the previous year's contest. Now, for me and my students, we always focus on, for every single concept, not only learning them in depth. So, hey, when's the checklist of, hey, when's the criteria of when to use this algorithm, the steps used to solve the problem, the steps to implement. But we also focus on working on them for harder problems that have showed up in a previous year's contest, because that's what they're going to need to do well in the next contest. Now, keep in mind that if the criteria to advance from this year is this amount right here, what you don't want to do is be prepared up here. That's going to be over preparation. Now, there are some exceptions, right? Let's say you're in silver and your goal is to make platinum. Then great, prepare up here. You're going to use that from gold to platinum anyways. But when you prepare, your goal is to figure out, okay, this is approximately a rough idea of how much more difficult the next year's contests are going to be. Let me prepare to that difficulty. And that's roughly what you want to do. Now, me personally, if I was preparing, there's a couple things that I would want to keep in mind, right? So first of all, there's 3 contests of a year. If you're okay advancing in any of the 3 contests, then you can just roughly approximate this number. But if you want to advance at the very next contest, I would try to overshoot it a little bit, just to leave a little bit buffer in case something goes wrong in the competition. So that's another idea here where, if you're trying to advance in any one of the next 3 contests, an 80% chance of you advancing is perfectly okay. Because if you have an 80% chance of advancing in the next 3 contests, it's almost certain to happen in one of them. However, if you want to advance in the very next contest, now you're going to need a 97, 99% chance of advancing. So you're going to need to prepare at a higher level so that you have those higher odds of advancing. I hope you found this useful. I hope you can take this and use it to prepare for not only the next contest this season, but the next contest next year. You want to make sure that when you're preparing for the next contest next year, you start as early as possible, right? You don't want to say, okay, the next contest is in December or January, whenever it's going to be, so I'm going to start in September when I'm busy with school, or I'm going to start in the beginning of summer because I might have some more time there. You want to start preparing and be preparing year-round so that you're basically preparing as early as possible. The best time to prepare for the next contest, for the contest next season, is right when the previous season ends. And if you look at what the high-level sports athletes doing, they prepare during preseason. Top NFL players, they're preparing during preseason. Top basketball players, all those players, baseball, whatever the sport is, they're preparing during preseason. And for USACO, what that looks like is as soon as the last contest is over, If you don't make camp, if you don't make the EGOI team, IOI team, whatever that contest is for you, if you don't advance to the next division you want it. Basically, if your contests for the year are over, start preparing for the next contest immediately. That's your preseason. That's your time to start preparing so that when the next year's contest comes, when they're harder, you're more than prepared. You're not cramming in the last minute. You're not rushing and realizing that you have more schoolwork than expected, or something comes up over summer and you're a little bit busier. Whatever that thing is, you want to make sure you have ample time. You don't want to realize during summer that, oh, you have 12 weeks, but actually you struggled on a concept a little bit more, and now it's going to take you like 20 weeks or something, whatever that time is for you. So make sure that you're preparing as soon as the previous year's season is over. Make sure you're preparing with structure and focus and purpose so that you have that clear structure. You know that what you're doing is making step-by-step improvements. You know that you're making improvement with every problem that you're working on. And make sure you're preparing for the more difficult contests that are going to show up in the next season. If you like this video, there's going to be videos linked around for you to check out. Other videos on our channel. Thanks, see you next time. Bye.